When Marc Márquez lifted his 9th world title under the blazing lights of Malaysia, it felt like destiny had finally come full circle. The comeback story was complete. The fallen king had reclaimed his throne. But just 7 days later, on the scorching asphalt of Mandalika, fate reminded the MotoGP world of one painful truth: legends never truly escape their scars. What looked like a routine fall soon became the start of another long, uncertain battle. Ducati's initial words were reassuring. No surgery needed. The scan showed a fractured right shoulder blade and some ligament damage, but nothing too serious. Rest, immobilization, and time. That was the plan. After all, with the 2025 title already sealed, there was no reason to rush. For a moment, the world exhaled. Márquez would heal. Slowly, quietly, naturally. But behind Ducati's calm statements, a storm was brewing. A week later, Márquez returned to Spain for a follow-up at Ruber International Hospital, the same team that treated him after the Mandalika crash. And this time, their verdict changed everything. The fracture hadn't stabilized. The ligaments weren't healing as expected. The words every athlete dreads soon followed. Surgery was now unavoidable. Ducati's official announcement was clinical, yet revealing. The conservative approach had failed. Doctors feared residual instability, meaning even if the bone healed, the shoulder could remain weak and unreliable. For most people, that might mean limited movement. For Marc Márquez, it meant the end of control, the end of precision braking, balance, and the razor-sharp instinct that defines his racing. So the decision was made: surgical stabilization and ligament repair. The operation in Madrid went smoothly. Ducati confirmed success, but their statement carried a tone rarely seen in MotoGP: honesty and restraint. They admitted surgery was always an option, but hoped to avoid it unless absolutely necessary. That line spoke volumes. This wasn't just a medical choice. It was emotional. Ducati wasn't just protecting a shoulder. They were protecting a legacy that had already been tested by fire. Between 2020 and 2022, Márquez had undergone 4 major surgeries, one even to correct a 30-degree bone rotation caused by the infamous Jerez crash. Each scar told a story of pain, perseverance, and perhaps obsession. Ducati's doctors knew that another surgery could push both body and mind to their limits. That's why they initially gambled on rest. But in the end, logic triumphed over hope. What's different this time isn't just the injury, it's the response. Ducati didn't rush him. They didn't make grand promises. And surprisingly, Márquez didn't fight them. Gone was the reckless warrior who once tried to race with a broken arm. This time he listened. He trusted. He chose patience over pride. That's growth, not weakness. And the fans noticed. Social media was flooded with messages not demanding a quick comeback, but urging him to heal completely. Take your time, champ. Come back stronger for 2026. The tone was different, not idolizing a superhero, but supporting a human being. The world had learned from 2020, just as Márquez had. But here's what makes this situation even more complex. While Márquez heals in Spain, the MotoGP paddock doesn't stop. Jorge Martin is now leading Aprilia's charge with something to prove. Pecco Bagnaia has a championship to defend without his greatest rival breathing down his neck. And a young crop of hungry riders like Pedro Acosta and Fabio Di Giannantonio are ready to fill any vacuum left behind. This isn't just Márquez's recovery story. It's MotoGP's evolution story. The question isn't whether Marx will return, it's what world he'll return to. Even Ducati's leadership stood firmly behind this slow rebuild. Davide Tardozzi reportedly told insiders that this recovery could actually benefit Márquez, giving him time to prepare for Ducati's next-generation GP26 bike. In other words, this isn't a setback. It's a strategic pause. A chance to come back not just healed, but optimized for the future. From a technical perspective, the call for surgery made perfect sense. The acromioclavicular ligaments are vital for shoulder stability, especially during the violent braking and cornering forces that define Márquez's aggressive style. Without them, his ability to absorb G-forces exceeding 1.5 G would be compromised. Ducati's doctors knew that no brace, no rest period could guarantee full reliability. This wasn't about managing pain. It was about performance integrity. Now, Ducati test rider Michele Pirro steps in for Phillip Island while Sepang remains uncertain. But one thing isn't uncertain anymore.
Marquez's mindset. For the first time in years, he's playing the long game. He's not racing against the calendar. He's racing against legacy. Here's what to watch for. Preseason testing in February will tell us everything. Not lap times, body language. How Marc leans into corners, whether he hesitates before heavy braking zones, whether that right shoulder still carries the memory of pain. If he passes that test, if he shows up at Qatar 2026 with the old fire in his eyes and a new respect for survival, then this wasn't a setback. It was a rebirth. Marc Márquez's journey has always been about defying limits. But in 2025, his greatest victory might not be on the racetrack. It might be the decision to stop fighting his body and start respecting it. Ducati's careful, transparent handling marks a new era, not just for Márquez, but for MotoGP itself. Because sometimes the true mark of a champion isn't how fast you return. It's knowing when not to. So what do you think, MotoGP fans? Is this the smartest move of Márquez's career or the start of another uncertain chapter? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe the king will rise again in 2026, smash that like button and subscribe to GP Circuit for more breaking news from the paddock. Because when Marc Márquez returns, you'll want to be here for it.
Marc Márquez is 33 years old. In MotoGP terms, that's not young anymore. Valentino Rossi won his last title at 30. Casey Stoner retired at 27. George Lorenzo was broken by 32. The sport doesn't just take your body. It takes your nerve, your reflexes, that split-second decision-making that separates podiums from hospital beds. And here's the brutal truth. Márquez has already given more to this sport than most riders could survive. 4 arm surgeries, diplopia that left him seeing double, a humerus bone that shattered so badly doctors had to insert a plate that's still there today, nerve damage that took away feeling in his right hand, and now this, another surgery, another recovery, another roll of the dice. So why does he keep coming back? That's the question that separates casual fans from true believers. Because it's not about the money anymore. Márquez has earned over $100 million in his career. It's not about the fame. 8 world titles already put him in the conversation with Rossi and Agostini. No, this is about something deeper, something almost spiritual. Márquez races because not racing would feel like dying. And Ducati knows this. That's why they signed him. Not for who he was in 2019, but for who he still is in his soul. A rider who will find grip where others see only danger. A rider who will break 10 meters later than physics says is possible. That's not skill you can teach. That's instinct. And instinct doesn't retire. It just needs the right machine and the right moment. Let's talk about what Ducati is really betting on here. They've invested in a 33-year-old with a medical file thicker than most technical manuals. Their 2 main rivals for 2026, Bagnaia and Martin, are both in their prime, both hungry, both riding at the peak of their physical powers. On paper, it looks like madness. But Ducati didn't build their empire by playing it safe. They bet on Stoner when everyone said he was too wild. They bet on Dovizioso when everyone said he was too old. And now, they're betting on Márquez when everyone says he's too broken. Because here's what the stats don't show you. In the 4 races Márquez completed before Mandalika, he was on the podium 3 times, at 33, with a shoulder held together by surgical screws, against riders 10 years younger on identical machinery. If that's what a damaged Márquez can do, imagine what a properly healed one might achieve. That's the bet Ducati is making, that 95% of prime Márquez is still better than 100% of almost anyone else. See you in the next one.